Nam Shrishta Manamapi Shachiputram Atra Surupam Rupam Tasya Puri Purim Maturim Goshvatim Radha Kundam Kiribaram Ahoradika Madhvasam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Sri Guru Tam Natosmi Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Itadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Hemabhadivyat Chavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Bhakta-vinda aparada lakshay jiltas kamari chora kamari Vipamahitvam Shanam Prapanya Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Govinda Damodaram Madhaveti Govinda Hey Krishna, hey Govinda Damodaram Madhaveti Sham Sundar Shikhanda Shikhar Smarahas Murali Manara Radhikaras Kamama Kripanidhe Swapriya Charna King Kurim Kurum Tavai Vasmi, Najivami Toyabandha, Jivikyaya Devi Tam, Namam Charanantikam. First of all, I offer my sustaining Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asvadeya Paramaradhatama Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Ashtotarasta Sri Rāmānujācārya Varya, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupada and our entire Sri Rūpanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis Vanchakalpata. Gurudeva ki jai. By the course of mercy of Sri Guru and Gauranga, we began to celebrate yesterday the appearance day of Sri Rāmānujācārya. So Ishwarera Janma Titi Jeheno Pavitra Nse Mata Vaishnavera Titira Charitra. Just as the appearance day of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna and his various incarnations, they are glorious and pure. So in the same way, the appearance days of great Vaishnavas are not less glorious or less powerful and purifying. In fact, Sri Krishna has said, Madbhakta Pujabhyadika, that the worship of my devotee is superior even to the worship of me. So yesterday, we heard some of the glories of Sri Rāmānujācārya. So some other very beautiful pastimes from his life we want to hear today also. When Sri Rāmānujācārya was still in his household life, at that time he was staying in Kanchipur, and there was a great, very influential Vaishnava, Rāmānujācārya, who has written the prayers of Stotra Ratna. He was doing bhajan and serving the Supreme Lord in Srirangam. At this time, his fame had spread everywhere. And he was having the pastime of becoming very old. And he was about to leave this world. So at that time, though Rāmānuja had not come to see him, he had not had the chance to have his association, but he knew about him. And he knew that previously that he was studying under Yadav Prakash, an impersonalist. So at that time, Rāmānujācārya was praying for the auspiciousness of Rāmānuja. And when he heard that, oh, he has given up that teacher, and now he's engaged in prayer and study, then Rāmānujācārya, he wanted to call him. He should come here and see me. So he gave an instruction to Mahapurna. He said, go there to Kanchipur and tell that Lakshman, Rāmānuja, invite him to come. Say, I want to see him. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written, Vaishnavera abedana Krishna doyamon ehino parara pratihabhina sadai. If a Vaishnava will pray to see Krishna on our behalf for our benefit, then Krishna's heart will melt and certainly Krishna will give mercy to us. So this is the most active principle in our spiritual life. If we can please Gurudev, if we can please advanced Vaishnavas, and they'll pray for our benefit, then our success in spiritual life is guaranteed. Just like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was glorifying the Vasudev Datta, he said to Vasudev Datta, Tumi jara hita bancha se hola Vaishnav, Vaishnavera Papa, Krishna dure kore sab. Mahaprabhu said, if there is any person and you want their benefit, just by you desiring the benefit for that person will become a Vaishnava. Krishna will destroy all that person's sins and they'll become a pure Vaishnava. Only if you desire it. Mahaprabhu said this to Vasudev Datta. So we should know that if a high-level Vaishnava only has a sankalpa, makes a promise in his heart, I'll deliver you. When Shri Guru gives Diksha, this is a promise. The disciple promises to surrender and Guru promises to deliver that disciple. So, when a Vaishnava makes this sankalpa, then for sure, a person will become purified and attain their perfection of life. So, Mahapurna from Srirangam, he came there to the town where Rāmānuja was staying. And he told Rāmānuja, I have come at the request of the great saints, Rāmānujācārya. And he is inviting you. Please come to Rangakshetra. So when Rāmānuja, he heard this, he could not believe that such a great devotee, he even knew that he existed. How does he know that I even exist? But he was so eager for the his association. So he said that at once we should set out and go there if he's calling me. And then the Rāmānuja, he arranged to set out to leave. Mahapurna said to him, but what about your family? You have not informed your family that you are going, leaving on a long journey. Rāmānuja said, obedience to the order of the Guru is more important than any considerations of a household life. So let us depart at once and go and have the darshan of Rāmānujācārya. So then, Mahapurna and Sri Rāmānuja, they set out on their way to Srirangam. So they were traveling, they would stay overnight in the house of a pious Brahmin, then travel again the next day. Gradually, they arrived there on the bank of the Kaveri river in Srirangam. And they wanted to go, they were not going to go for the darshan of Ranganath. They wanted to go directly to the house of Rāmānujācārya, which was close to the temple. But when they arrived there, they found that the road was blocked. There was a huge crowd of people. And so Mahapurna said, why is this huge crowd? Why is the road blocked here? So someone said, oh, to Mahapurna, my dear sir, what can I say to you? Now the earth is bereft of its most beautiful gem. The Mahatma Rāmānujācārya has returned to the transcendental abode. So hearing these words, Mahapurna, he just began to cry. And Rāmānuja, at least Mahapurna, he had some association with him. But Rāmānuja, he was traveling all that with so much eagerness to meet him. On his request, on his specific request even. But he fainted. And Rāmānuja fell unconscious. So then Mahapurna, he composed himself and he brought some water and sprinkled it on Rāmānuja's face and brought him gradually back to consciousness. And Rāmānuja says, Mahapurna, I tried to console him. He said that, oh, don't be overwhelmed with grief, because we should be sure in every moment of life, everything takes place only by the will of the Supreme Lord, Narayan. So let us try to go through the crowd. At least we can have the darshan of his Sri Vigraha in Samadhi, in the Mahasamadhi. So then the disciples of Rāmānujācārya, they had bathed and they had decorated him very beautifully and put him on a palanquin, and there was a procession and they were carrying him on a palanquin to the bank of the Kaveri river. So Rāmānujācārya and Mahapurna, they arrived there and they saw the Sri Vigraha of Rāmānujācārya. So even though from the worldly point of view, he was supposedly dead, Vaishnavas never die. Na karma bandhanam janma Vaishnavanam na vidyate. But he said that Vaishnavas have no birth, they have no death, they have no bondage of karma. By the will of the Supreme Lord, only they become prakat, visible to the people of the world, and then aprakat, invisible to the people of the world. So the young Rāmānujācārya, he had the darshan of Rāmānujācārya, and he was so effulgent and beautiful, such a serene, the countenance of love for the Supreme Lord was on his face. And as Rāmānujācārya was looking at the Vigraha, Sri Vigraha, the body of Yamunacharya, he noticed that one hand was like this and one hand was like this. So he asked some disciples, because sometimes someone has an injury and their hand they keep in a position. Yes, did he usually keep his hand like this? He said, no, his hand wasn't straight. So then the disciples told him, we don't know. Why is one hand like this and one hand is like this? So then Rāmānujācārya, he said, I will make a vow that being fixed in devotion to the Supreme Lord, I will free all the people from illusion by spreading the glories of the Supreme Lord throughout the whole world. I take this vow. And then one finger straightened. Then Rāmānujācārya said, to establish that there is no truth higher than the Supreme Lord, Narayan, than Bhagavan, I will write Sri Bhasya. In the Sri Sampradaya, I will write Sri Bhasya, a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, and prove beyond doubt that there's no truth superior to the personality of Godhead. And then another finger straightened. And then Rāmanuja said, and in order to show respect to the great sage Parashara Muni, that is the father of the Vyasadeva. In order to show great respect, excuse me, he's the Vyas before Vyasadeva. In every age there is a Vyas, and the person who became Vyas before our Vyasadeva was Parashara, and the next Vyas will be Ashvatthama. So, in order to show respect to the great sage Parashara, who has wonderfully described the glories of the Supreme Lord in the Vishnu Purana, I will name one learned Vaishnava after him. So historically, later in the future, Rāmānujācārya has one disciple named Parashara Bhatta. And after the disappearance of Rāmānujācārya, that Parashara Bhatta became the next Acharya in his line. So then, when he said this, then Yamunacharya, his third finger became straight. And everyone was so amazed, understanding that even though Yamunacharya had entered into Mahasamadhi, in this miraculous way, he had bestowed responsibility for his mission onto Rāmānuja. So, that means that what Yamunacharya himself, the responsibilities that he himself had not completed in his life, he had passed those responsibilities on to Rāmānujācārya. So after some time, Rāmānujācārya, he left his household life and accepted sannyas, and he began to preach. And Sri Rangam was his main base. And he began to instruct so many thousands of disciples. So one day, his first disciple, his name is Quresh. So Quresh approached him and said, "Oh Gurudev, please, can you reveal to me the confidential meaning of the verse of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Shanam Braja Hantam Sarva Papebhyo Moksheshami Masucha." So Rāmanuja told to Quresh, he said, only a person who has given up all the Swatantra Abhilas, all independent desires, and serves his Guru absolutely with complete focus for an entire year can understand the meaning of this verse. No one else can understand the meaning of the verse. Because the conditioned soul has Purusha Abhiman. if he's living in such a way that he's asserting his own the desires which are coming from his conditioned samskars, then how will he understand Atma? As long as the Purusha Abhiman is there, as long as one is under the grip of the samskars collected from previous life, there's no question. A person may know Sanskrit perfectly, he may study the Vedas for years and years, but he's under Brahm, Pramada, Vipralipsa, Karnapatav, all the defects of a conditioned soul. So when Quresh heard this, he said, but Gurudev, life is so uncertain, I may not live for 1 year. Because that was the condition. First, give up all desires, all independence, and serve life and soul non-completely without any other occupation for 1 year. So he said, I might not live for 1 year. So please give your mercy to me so that I may understand the verse in my heart just now. So then Rāmānujācārya, he said, all right, you should live for 1 month only by Madhukari. You should not have any money. You should not know where your next meal is coming from. And for 1 month, you should just go door to door and beg something, and whatever is given, you can offer to the Supreme Lord, and you can take that. And if you live like this, you begin to realize, understand the meaning of full surrender. And then, after 1 month, I will instruct you on the meaning of this verse. Otherwise, you won't understand. So, this is actually a fact. You know that in the Vedic times, this was standard. The disciples who live in the ashram of the Guru, they have to go out and do the bhiksha, begging. At the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he used to give them one collection tin with a very small hole in the top that only paisa could go inside, very small change, and send the devotees out, shaking the tin. It was not actually to collect money. It was to have an excuse to meet with people. Who are you? What are you doing? Oh, we are the Gaudiya Math. We are the disciples of Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. And in the service of our Gurudev, we are trying to spread the message of Prem Nam Sankirtan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And a conversation would begin. Or debate even. So this is an excuse to go out and meet people. And it is also the system whereby the disciple becomes humble and becomes dependent on Krishna. Because when anyone is begging, then they're going to be rejected so many times. The ego doesn't like this. We don't like to be criticized and rejected again and again. But Guru gives such seva and such instruction to the disciple. Why? It will diminish the ego. And the disciple will gradually become Trinadapi Sunichena. After that, they can understand the Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya. Otherwise not. So we see that at the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur also, and especially at the time of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he would send the devotees, go do Harinam Sankirtan everywhere and also distribute books. So if you go somewhere, you have some books and you're just trying to talk to people, then people think, who is this crazy person? Who is this beggar? They may criticize you, they may abuse you. You have to tolerate so many things. And then pray to Krishna. Oh, Krishna, please help. And then Krishna may do some miracle and send some person, they just had some disaster in their life and they'd just been praying to God and crying the previous day. And now they've come across the Bhagavad Gita. And they're so inspired. And they want to give a big donation even. Like this. So miracles happen. So it's very important. Don't think that to go out and do Sankirtan and go out to preach and distribute books and all of these things, this is for any kind of the financial gain or economic development. No, this is part of the traditional life of the disciple, to diminish the ahankar and to become free from swatantrata, independence, and develop the nirbharata. Nirbharata means, I am completely dependent on your mercy, my Lord. And see that Supreme Lord Jive Saman Dive Jani Krishna Adhistan. Mahaprabhu said, give respect to every living entity, even those who are ignoring you, rejecting you, abusing you. So how do you know whether you can do it or not unless you practice? So this is the life, to practice giving respect to everyone unconditionally and to depend on the Supreme Lord. That if you will do some seva, but you'll need the Lord's mercy even to do the seva. The seva is mercy, and for it to be successful is also mercy. Also, everything. So, Nirbharata, Shri Radha Shyama Sundar Ji ki jai. Nirbharata, that means dependence, being fully dependent on the mercy of the Lord. That is the nature of the Shraddha, faith. If we depend on our own power, our own strength, our own intelligence, then we cannot go into samadhi. We'll always be trapped by maya. Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam tayaparta chetasam vyavasaya mikabuddhi samadho na vidhiyate. Krishna said, those who are of the enjoying aptitude, the enjoying spirit, they become attracted to the sense objects of this world and opulence of this world. Then vyavasayatmika buddhi, their buddhi, their intelligence never becomes focused. It never becomes steer. It never becomes steady. And therefore, samadhau na vidhiyate. They never experience what it's like to go in samadhi. If you want to realize Krishna, you will not realize Krishna as you're walking around, casually walking, looking here and there and talking. No. Only when we go into the samadhi, then we can realize Krishna. So we can see this from the life of Quresh and Rāmānujācārya. So then, that Quresh, he left everything and he was living only by begging and only enough for that meal per day and serving his guru all the time. After 1 month, he was a different person. His worldview, his outlook was transformed. And his ears were ready to receive the Shabda Brahma. So then, Rāmānujācārya instructed him in the meaning of the verse, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Give up all dharma. That means give up all dharma related to the gross body and the subtle body. And take up Atma Dharma, the true occupation of the soul. That is Jaiva Dharma, Bhagavad Dharma. And then that Quresh, he became enlightened. So the second disciple of Rāmānujācārya, his name was Dasarathi. So when Dasarathi saw the great success of his godbrother, he also went to his Gurudev and said, "Oh Gurudev, please instruct me in the profound teaching of Krishna's words in Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam shranam braja. Aham tam sarva papebhyo moksheshami masucha." So then Rāmānujācārya, he said to Dasarathi, "Oh, actually, you are my relative." They were related. So because of that, then I might not see any fault in you. If someone is related to you, then you become extra lenient and give concessions to them. If we have attachment, a worldly attachment to a person, even though they have faults, then we don't see it. Jananam doshanam va nahi. And the Rupa Goswami has written, Kam anuraga stagayati. He wrote that if there's some attachment, then you will not see the faults in that person. So Rāmānujācārya very humbly said, because you are my relative, then I may overlook some fault in you. But it's the duty of the Guru to remove all the faults from the heart of the disciple. So I am suggesting to you that you should go to Gostipurna. Gostipurna is from whom Rāmānujācārya had received the mantra, Om Namo Narayana. Go and receive instruction from him. So then Dasarathi, he set off. Why did Rāmānujācārya send him there? Because this Dasarathi, he was a Brahmin and he was very learned in Sanskrit, in grammar, in Kavya, in poetry, in Shastra, and he had some pride in his knowledge. So always remember this. My Gurudev used to say, theoretical knowledge is no knowledge. Theoretical knowledge is no knowledge. It doesn't matter how many millions of verses you have memorized. If you have not had the darshan of Krishna, you don't know anything. In the darkness of ignorance. Always remember this. But still, it's the nature of Maya. If a person becomes adept in the memorizing Shastra and adept in speaking, then if the heart is somewhat contracted, it will have a negative effect. If someone is narrow-minded, they have the contracted chitta, then the more they learn, then the more they become proud, actually. If someone their heart is really expanded and purified by the chanting of the holy name, then the learning, by their studies, it is really mercy. And they'll become more and more empowered to serve the Supreme Lord. They'll not become proud. But if the heart is in a contracted state, then the learning actually becomes like a poison. It has the opposite effect. The same with tapasya, austerities. Instead of making one become purified, if has so many anarthas, when he does austerities, it will make him become more proud. So Dasarathi, he set off and he went to reside in Tirukotia. And he stayed there for 6 months. And he was studying and serving at the feet of Gostipurna. So then, after 6 months, even then, he did not instruct him in the meaning of this verse. So after 6 months, he said, "Oh, Mahatma Gostipurna, can you explain to me the meaning of the verse? Sarva dharman parityajya." And Gostipurna took pity on him. He said, "There's no doubt about it. You are a brilliant scholar. This is true. But in Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, Janmaishwarya Suta Sri Bir Edamana Madapuman Naivahatta Vidhatam Vai Tvam Akinchana Gochara." That is Kunti Devi. She prayed to the Supreme Lord that if a person has aristocratic birth, Janma, Aishwarya, they have a lot of money, wealth. If they have a lot of learning, Sruta, and Sribir, Sri, if a person is very beautiful or handsome, then they become intoxicated by these 4 things. And then when they call the name of God, they don't call sincerely. Naivarata Vidhatambai Tvam Akinchana Gochara. Oh my Lord, you are the property of that person who is materially exhausted. That means they've become tired of trying to exploit the material world. They've become tired of trying to assert their greatness in the physical plane. They're done with it. They're akinchan, nishkinchan. They've left all these things. That person can call the name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. With sincerity. But if a person is on the Aroha Panta, ascending process, trying to improve, I will become more aristocratic, I will have more titles, I'll have more reputation, I'll become more beautiful, I'll become more learned, I'll become more wealthy. It's impossible to chant the pure name. So Goshtipurna told him that, oh, it's true you are a great scholar, but you should know that education, wealth, beauty, and aristocracy, they cause pride. They make one become more lost in this material world. And then that person who becomes proud, he forgets the Supreme Lord and the service of Guru. So I cannot teach you this verse. You should go back to your Guru, Rāmānujācārya. So first he went to his Guru and he was sent here, then that person sent him there. He's just... So then he was returning to Srirangam. So just as he was arriving in Srirangam, at the feet of his Guru there, he gave pranam. At the same time, the daughter of Mahapurna, that is the person, he was not a Brahmin, but he was very influential to Ramanuja when he was young, when he was a boy, and influenced him in the line of bhakti. So that Mahapurna, his daughter, her name was Atulai, she also arrived there at the feet of Rāmānujācārya at the same time. So when the two of them arrived, then Rāmānujācārya, he gave the precedence to that girl. Why have you come? He did not say to her. He did not, oh, why have you returned now? No. He arrived and he gave precedence to the girl. He said, oh, why have you come here? You seem to be distressed. She said, oh, my father sent me to you. Why? Because I was married and I was sent far away to the village of my in-laws. And there, every day, I have to collect water and bring it to the house. But the nearest lake is 2 miles away. So every morning, I have to climb over some mountains, take the water from the lake, and then carry it back. It's so heavy. And bring it back to the house twice a day, morning and evening. And in the meantime, I also have to do all the cooking and other services in the house. And I was just becoming exhausted. And I told to my mother-in-law, this is too difficult for me. And my mother-in-law, instead of having sympathy for me, then she became furious. And she said, well, why didn't you bring a cook? Why didn't you bring a servant with you when you came from your father's house? We cannot afford to employ so many servants doing all the housework while you sit around doing nothing. So when she was abused like this by her mother-in-law, then she was so sad. And so she left her husband and father-in-law's home and went back to her father's house. So then her father, Mahapurna, told her, you should go to Rāmānujācārya. And he said, and so I have just arrived here now. So please help me with this problem. So then Rāmānujācārya immediately gave the solution to the problem. He said, oh, my dear sister, don't worry. I have a perfect person to help you with your housework. You can take this Brahmin. So Dasarath, he was going here, going there. He just arrived. And again, he got sent away. Now, for carrying water and cooking and cleaning. So then, Dasarathi, he was becoming more humble. And he just accepted the order of Guru on his head, and at once then he left with the daughter of the Mahapurna and went back to her village. And then he began to do his services there. So every morning he was climbing over the mountains with a big pot of water on his head. And he was cooking in the kitchen. After some time, a devotee was traveling and giving some pravachan, came to that village. And all the villagers assembled together, and he was speaking on Bhagavad Gita. So at that time, Dasarati thought, oh, some Harikatha. I was missing the Harikatha. So he took a little time away from the kitchen and he came in the crowd there. But that person who was speaking, his presentation had some touch of the impersonalism. It was not pure description of bhakti. So then the Dasarati, he raised his hand and said, excuse me. And he wanted to correct his interpretation of the verse. But as he began to speak, then that scholar, he became angry. He said, stop, you fool! Where is a jackal? And where is heaven? A jackal is very far away from heaven. So in the same way, whoever heard of a cook explaining the Shastras? I think that you should go back to the kitchen and you can demonstrate your talents there in the kitchen. No need to come here and demonstrate your talents here in this assembly. So when he was criticized bitterly in this way, but Dasarati, he remained completely calm. This is a test. If someone says something you don't like or tells you to do something you don't want to do, or someone criticizes you, if you are completely blissful and unaffected, then it may be that the ahankar is almost gone or completely gone. But if there's some response, some reaction, you become triggered and take the bait, then ego is still there. Just like our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he was in Kashi, the devotees came to him and said, oh, that Prakashananda Saraswati and the other sannyasis, they're all criticizing you. They're saying, why are you singing and dancing in the street with so many people? Why are you not sitting and just studying Vedanta Sutra? And when Mahaprabhu heard the criticism, he just smiled. Just completely. No agitation at all. So then, when he was chastised in this way, Dasarati was very calm and he continued to speak and explain his point. And he was quoting from so many, from the Upanishads, from the Vedanta Sutra, from the Puranas, and he cleared the point fully. And it was so impressive. Everyone was amazed. And even that speaker who was on the Vyasasan, he got up from the Vyasasan and came over to Dasarati and gave pranams and took dust from his feet. Because he realized, actually, I was wrong. I made a mistake. And he is correcting me. So he is very merciful to me. So he went and gave pranam and took the dust from his feet. And he said, how is it that such a sincere devotee and learned scholar like you is doing menial work in the kitchen? So then Dasarati, he said, well, I am an arrogant person. So to make operation on my heart, my Gurudev is putting me in one situation after another so that I might be purified by this. So then all the people in that crowd, they realized, oh, this is Dasarati, because he was a famous scholar. And they never knew that they'd heard of a great scholar called Dasarati, but they didn't know who he was. And they definitely didn't know that he was the cook in the house of Atulai. So then, seeing that he was the great scholar and that he'd become so very humble, so a group of devotees from that village, they set off to Srirangam. And they came to Rāmānujācārya and they prayed to him, oh Rāmānujācārya, it is not the proper that your worthy and qualified disciple should be carrying the pots over the mountains and cutting the vegetables in that house there and serving, doing the menial service of a cook there. He is so humble. He has no pride at all. So please, you give us the order and we'll go back to the village and carrying your order and tell him that it's time for him now, he can return and serve you in Srirangam. So then Rāmānujācārya, he said, no. He was so happy to hear this news. He said, I'll come with you back to that village myself. So then Rāmānujācārya, he got up and with all the villagers, he went over the mountains and he came there because he wanted to see how his disciple was working in the kitchen. So then, when he arrived there, then Dasarati saw that his Guru Dev was coming. Oh, why has Gurudev come all the way here? And he gave pranam to his Gurudev, and then Rāmānujācārya picked him up and embraced him. He said, oh, now I am pleased you can come back and be with me in Srirangam. And so then they returned to Srirangam, and Rāmānujācārya said, listen to me. Sarva dharman pratyajya mamekam sharanam braja ham tam sarva papebhyo moksheshami ma suchaha, and explained to him the confidential meaning of this verse. And Dasarati became enlightened. He became perfect. And because he had fulfilled his desire and attained perfection by what? Vaishnava Seva. First he went and served Goshtipurna, then he served in the daughter of the Mahapurna. So because he became perfected by serving Vaishnavas on the order of his Guru, then Rāmānujācārya changed his name to Vaishnav Das. Vaishnav Das ki jai. So Rāmānujācārya has so many beautiful pastimes. If you deliberate on these pastimes, the loving relation between Rāmānujācārya and his disciples, then we can also learn how to become Sat Sishya, bona fide disciple, and how our heart can be prepared to receive the Dibya Gyan, transcendental knowledge. There's no other way. There's no other way. So, perhaps we have a few more minutes. We can tell another pastime. Once, Rāmānujācārya, he was studying what is called the Tamil Veda. The Tamil Veda is written in Tamil. Those are the writings of Nam Alwa. One of the Alwas called Nam Alwa. And so he went through it. It's called Sahasra Giti. Sahasra Giti means the song with 1,000 verses, but actually it's 1,102 verses. And it's called the Tiruvaimoli by Nam Alwa. So they studied it from beginning to end and went back and went through the whole thing again. 3 times they went through. And then after that, Rāmānujācārya, he said, I want to go on parikrama, the Tirtha Yatra, to the holy place called Sri Shaila. And so Rāmānujācārya set off with his associates, his disciples, on this Tirtha Yatra. So they stayed in one village, then they stayed in another village, and then they were coming to a village called Astashasra. And in this village, Rāmānujācārya had 2 disciples. One of them, his name was Yagyesh. And Yagyesh was a very wealthy disciple. He was extremely wealthy. And the other, he was a Brahmin. His name was Varadacharya, and he was very poor. So, because Rāmānujācārya knew that after some time, the next day they would arrive in that village, he sent 2 disciples to go ahead and give advance notice to Yagyesh, tell, Gurudev is coming with so many disciples, so make all arrangements to receive them. So then, those disciples went ahead and they arrived at the house of that wealthy devotee, Yagyesh. And when Yagyesh heard, Gurudev is coming, with a group of disciples, and immediately he became ecstatic and he began to arrange to get all very first-class ingredients to cook and make all arrangements for their staying. So then, those persons who were sent ahead came back to Rāmānujācārya. And he said, so did you tell him? He said, yes. And Rāmānujācārya said, what happened? They said, he immediately began to make all arrangements for your arrival. Rāmānujācārya said, "Oh, he didn't invite you in? He did not give you water and food and a place to rest after you traveled so far? I'm not going to his house." So even though he was enthusiastic to serve his guru, but because he didn't show the hospitality to his own god brothers, to the disciples of Rāmānujācārya, he didn't even send any message or anything. He just said, "I'm not going there." Because he's respecting Gurudev, but not respecting Vaishnavas. So then, Rāmānujācārya decided, I'll go to the house of Vrindavan. He's a poor Brahmin. So he arrived there. When he arrived there, Vrindavan was out. He'd gone because he was living by doing bhiksha. So he was out on bhiksha. Only his wife was there. So his wife's name was Lakshmi, and she was a very young and very beautiful. And when she saw Gurudev has come, she gave Dandavat Pranam. She said, "Oh, there's a lake nearby. You can go and take bath there and then return, and I'll manage everything for your stay." So then Rāmānujācārya and his disciples, they went to take bath and remember their mantras. And she went to the kitchen and there was no food there. So she said, "What can I do?" So then she thought that just nearby in her village, there was one very wealthy merchant. And he was attracted to her beauty so much that he had sent some messenger girls. "Oh, come and visit me. I'll give you some money." He wanted to enjoy with her. But she refused. And even that person he had given up. He thought her integrity is such that it cannot be compromised by any money. So then, or any jewels or silk clothing, anything. He offered her so many things. So he was basically a complete rascal. So then, that Lakshmi was thinking, actually, Guru Seva is beyond all worldly dharma. To be pativrata, to be a chaste wife and all of these things, the Guru Seva is transcendental. It is not part of this world. Naham vipro nacha narapati napi vaishya na sudro naham vani nacha gripit no vanasto vayativa. We are not of any ashram. Guru Seva is the occupation of the soul, not the body and mind. Fully transcendental. So she decided, I can go to him and he'll give me everything I need to serve my Gurudev and my god brothers. And then, in return, I'll give him whatever he wants. So then that Lakshmi went to his house. First she prayed. She gave pranam at the lotus feet of her Gurudev in her heart. And with great courage, she set off and went to that rascal. And she told him, "This evening, I will fulfill your desires. But please, give me all the things that I need to offer hospitality to my Gurudev and his parikrama party." So then that man, he was surprised. He thought, "What? I had given up hope. I thought there was no chance, but today is my lucky day." He said, "Of course." And then he told his servants, and then the servants, they delivered so many ingredients to that home. And then she quickly returned and she began to cook, and she made a whole feast. Then Rāmānujācārya came back, and all the devotees sat down and they honored wonderful feasts, Mahaprasada. And then they went to take rest. In the meantime, Vrindavan came home. And he saw, "Oh, my Gurudev is here. So many devotees are here." Some of the devotees were saying, "Oh, that was a wonderful feast." And then he was thinking, how did my wife make such a big feast for all of these people? How is it possible? I didn't even return with a few vegetables and rice from the bhiksha. So then, that Lakshmi Devi, when her husband said, "How did you feed everyone?" Then she bowed her head in shame. She was so sad, and she said, "Oh, I went to that merchant and I told him tonight I'll fulfill his desires and in exchange for these things." And she was thinking, "Oh, now my husband is he'll be really angry with me." So then Vrindavan began to dance. Haribo, Haribo. He was jumping up and down. He said, Danyosmi, Danyosmi. I am blessed, I am blessed. Why? Because Lord Narayan is the only Purush. Lord Narayan is the supreme enjoyer. And for the enjoyment of Lord Narayan, we should be ready to give everything. And that Lord Narayan appears before our eyes in this world, though we cannot see Lord Narayan, but he appears in the form of Sri Guru. And for the service of Guru, which is transcendental, then, you, my wife, you are ready to sacrifice everything of this world only for the service of Gurudev, who is Sakshat Hari, the direct form of the Supreme Lord. So I am blessed to be married to such a great devotee whose consciousness is completely transcendental and beyond this world. So then he said, come with me. So then he took his wife by the hand, and Vrindavan went, and they both gave Dandavat Pranam to Rāmānujācārya. And they told Rāmānujācārya what happened. So the first thing Rāmānujācārya said was, take prasadam. So then some of the disciples, they went and they collected something was left over from the feast and gave them plates. Said, take prasadam, and they took prasadam. And then Rāmānujācārya gave some of his own remnant to them. And then he told, what prasadam is left, you should give to that person, that wealthy businessman. So then the two of them, they got up and they came with a plate of prasadam and some remnant also of Rāmānujācārya. And they came there to the big mansion where that wealthy person was living. And they said, oh my dear sir, we have come to deliver to you some Mahaprasadam of the Supreme Lord. Please take. So then that wealthy person, he sat down and he took some Mahaprasadam and he took the remnant of Rāmānujācārya. And then after taking the prasadam, he was completely transformed. And all of his essential desires, they were purged from his heart. And when he looked at Lakshmi, before he was looking at her and saying, here is a beautiful woman I want to enjoy. But now his heart was clean. He looked at her and folded his hands and bowed his head, and he saw her like a mother with great respect and love. And with tears in his eyes, he said, oh mother, please forgive me. I am so sinful that if you have saved me from great sin. Why? Because, do you know the history of Nal and Damayanti? In the Mahabharata, there's a history of Nal and Damayanti. So Damayanti was so chaste. And once she was being attacked by a snake in the forest, and one hunter saved her from the snake. But then the hunter thought, oh, she's so attractive, and he tried to take her to his hut to enjoy her. But she said that she made a vow. Oh, if I have never thought of any other man other than my husband, then on the basis of my purity and virtuous life, let this wicked hunter fall down dead. And at once, the hunter, he burst into flames. So that wealthy man, he said to Lakshmi, if you have saved me, because you are so chaste, that if I would have touched you, I would have burnt into flames like that hunter. So then, he said, I want to meet your guru. So then Lakshmi and Vrindavan and that wealthy man, they all went, the three of them together, and they gave pranams at the lotus feet of Rāmānujācārya. And when he touched Rāmānujācārya's lotus feet, his heart was melting and he begged for initiation. And Rāmānujācārya also gave diksha to him, and he also became a pure devotee. So these are the glories of Sri Rāmānujācārya. Just then, now, Vrindavan, Lakshmi, that wealthy man became a pure devotee. And just at that moment, Yagyesh arrived. You know, the rich one. And his heart was broken because he prayed everything, but Gurudev didn't come to my house. And he heard he's gone to Vrindavan. So he's gone to the house of Vrindavan, so that Yagyesh came there and he fell at the lotus feet of his Gurudev and said, "Oh, you said you would come to my house, but you did not come. I must have made offense. Please forgive me." And Rāmānujācārya said, "Oh, you know that Nityati Dena Vittena Durlabhainatma Mritchuna Griyapatyapta Pashubhika Priti Saditais Chalai." Wealth is the root of all evil. It's very difficult to acquire. It takes over your mind and it makes you become entangled in this world. Because of your wealth, you have become confused. So, then he said, "Oh Gurudev," and he told him, "I didn't come to your house because you did not serve the Vaishnavas. When the Vaishnavas came, they traveled a long way. And you only think, I will serve Gurudev. I have the facility to serve Gurudev. But the poor devotees who came and were tired, you did not help them for this reason." So then Yagyesh begged forgiveness from his Gurudev, and Rāmānujācārya blessed him. And he became free from that offense. And from that day on, he was always following the teaching of Rāmānujācārya. You can attain perfection by being under the guidance of Gurudev and also serving all the Vaishnavas. Shri Rāmānujācārya ki jai, Yagyesh ki jai, Dasarathi ki jai, Vrindavan ki jai, Lakshmi ki jai, Kuresh ki jai, Shri Rāmānujācārya ki jai, Gaur Premanande.